Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi
Hello?
guys! No, I was just not finding my button to to remove the screen. Hi guys! Welcome to this new episode of Timeout from Tamriel. Hello Deltia. Hi Sigtric.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Very fine, thank you. And today we are going to speak about the episode 34 End Game.
End game. No, wait, are
So
you wearing a Morrowind shirt?
yeah.
Oh, that's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. All right.
Indeed, that's it.
I got my Nugget shirt on. Sig's shirtless. That's why he has no camera on today, so.
It's
No.
pretty much it.
Rip.
Shh, don't repeat it.
All right. ESO End Game, the Elder Scrolls Online, the End Game. So like End Game in general. Do you want to kind of explain that, Elloa? What do you think about that?
Yes, okay. The end game across every game, it's considered the activity that you're doing once you reach the maximum level. It's the end game because at that point, instead of just, that's the thing with MMORPG, you're leveling. Once you're leveling in a different game, you finish the game, you finish the main story, you can close it or restart a new character. But in MMORPG, you have a whole different kind of activities to do. The best example is to take, of course, World of Warcraft. Once you have reached the maximum level, you start to gather your gear through dungeon, then heroic dungeon, then first raid. Once you have finished the first raid, you have better equipment. You can open the second raid, gather more equipment, open the third raid, etc., etc. So that's the end game in many MMORPG. It could also be PvP. You start to be doing competitive PvP in arena, battlegrounds, rated stuff. It depends a little bit of the game.
Yeah, I mean that's a good synopsis of it. I mean, I think it's like you grind and you do leveling for a bit of a time, and every game has its own leveling system. Remember when this game first launched, like leveling was the end game, right? I mean, it was like took so extremely long. People didn't know how to grind. People didn't know all the grind spots, and when you figured one out, they would nerf it. But for me, like at the beginning of the game, the end game was literally just leveling new characters and stuff. In other games, it's kind of like what I played was you kind of leveled. Everyone has to do that, whatever way you did it. But you found your niche, whether it was killing other players, doing PvP, or doing operations, whatever raids, whatever you want to call them. You kind of had two paths, and I didn't really ever see a game where there was more than two. And a lot of times the two conflicted, right? It's like you had to do PvE to get PvE gear, or you had to do PvP to unlock this certain thing. So games have always struggled with endgame, in my opinion, and like making it viable for both, profitable for both, fun for both. And sometimes it's like, some games should just focus, I think, on one. Where, I don't know. What's your thoughts today, like about endgame? Like you played Lotro forever. What was Lotro's endgame like?
It was a lot closer to the way Elloa described WoW. You had several kind of like vet dungeons that we know in ESO that you would go through to get gear that had. I think they called it light. I forget. It's been a long time, and you needed that light gear to get a certain like power level basically to then
So
go
it's like
into...
Destiny, kind of like Destiny,
Well,
basically.
I know I'm using the wrong
Terminology, but yeah.
terminology because I can't remember what the hell they call it. But it was basically light level because you were fighting the darkness, of Sauron and whatnot.
Okay.
But so you had this gear, and they eventually got rid of that, that stuff. But it was that same kind of progression thing. You had to go get
Yeah.
gear from the base dungeon or base raid, and then you would get stuff from that, and then you could go on, move on to the next harder bit of content. It was a whole progression thing.
Yeah, but it's like,
and it also had a lot of like the raids in the game compared to ESO, and well, they were closer to what I would imagine is probably in WoW, that they took a while. They took a couple hours to get through.
yeah.
Probably double the amount of bosses that we see in Trials and ESO and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think ESO's Endgame was quite weird for PvE, in my opinion, because,
It still is.
well, it's weird because,
It's
like, basically, you can start a character, hit Endgame, and then you don't have to go through all the old stuff. Like, essentially,
exactly.
other games were like, you had to go through Ethereum Archive. You'd have to do Hell Raw. You'd have to do this. You'd have to do that. You'd have to kind of, like, keep progressing, where it's like, now it's like, throw some Julianos on, and I'm good to go.
And that's exactly the point of vertical progression and horizontal progression. So the vertical progression is like World of Warcraft, Lotro, Star Wars: The Old Republic, whatever, is that you arrive to the end game, then you need to do one raid or dungeon to get your equipment, then you do the other raid that unlock the next raid, that unlock the next activity, etc., etc. So you really have this progression that works like a ladder.
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls Online is what we call horizontal progression. That means that you have a varied large amount of activity, so you can collect plenty of different sets. You do not need a set to go in Darkshade Cavern. You do not need your Darkshade Cavern set to go in Helra Citadel, whatever. You can just go and do whatever you want. Guild Wars 2 also worked that way, or worked at least the first time. Now I'm not sure, so I don't want to venture there, but when I played Guild Wars 2, it was also horizontal progression, which means that every activity is on the same level. You do not need to do one to reach the other one, and you can just pick up what you prefer. So there is different advantage and inconvenience to that system. The advantage is, of course, that once you reach max level, you have access to everything. You do not need to go through a lot of different activities to unlock certain things. Everything is open to you. But for some player, it's very frustrating because they do not have this sense of progression.
Yeah, there's no clear path. It's not like, you hit max level. Okay, now you need to go do Kragorn. Then you do Dragonstar Arena. Then you do Veteran Maelstrom. Then you do Dungeon. It's like, figure it out, right? When you hit level endgame. And then the group finder isn't exactly, I don't know, new player friendly. It just doesn't scream at you like, user interface really easy to use. But there's just so much. There's just so much content in this game. Like, if one thing I can say about it, it's not lacking in content. In fact, it's almost like it has too much. I mean, even on the PvP aspect of things, I mean, people complain about, Cyrodiil and stuff like that, but everyone knows to go there for a fight, right? So if you're bored, you're just going to go there. I went through Imperial City. There were 6 people in Imperial City, prime time on a weekend. You know what I mean? I think that's like crazy because there's just so much to choose from. So as far as the horizontal versus the vertical progression and thinking about it, my take, we'll go through the group here, but my take is I actually like it because at other games, like if I jump into Star Wars: The Old Republic and I want to start PvE in 5-6 years later, well, I don't want to have to go through Jabba the Hutt quest and Billy Bob quest, and I kind of want to get caught up and do what's going on right now, right? Because the end game community they're so far advanced on the ladder that they don't want to come back down to Little Deltias and go, oh, let's go do the Jabba the Hutt quest that we've done 7,000 times, right?
It's a good quest, though, man.
That Jabba the Hutt quest is ripped. I forget what it's called. It's a Hutt trial or whatever you want to call it. It's actually kind of fun, but yeah, so like that was the thing is like there was just a clear path. And some people like that, right? They like I go into this trial, I get this 5-piece set, I move on to this one because they can equip me for that. Where Elder Scrolls Online is like, it's almost every patch you're chasing a new 5-piece. And the thing about it is, we love the gear grind. That's part of MMOs. It's cool getting gear, badass gear. And you're like, yeah. But it's like every patch, this one thing changes. Off balance changes. Well, that might change the new hot 5-piece. So it's like, and that new hot 5-piece might be craftable. It might be an Orsinium. It might be an Imperial City. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you just never know from patch to patch to patch what's the most powerful thing. And I don't know. Sig, what's your take on the leveling and progression system like that?
Well, to touch on that a little bit, we actually have seen recently, it's not a required, you have to go do this to then unlock, the next thing, but there's actually gear that comes out of Halls of Fabrication that make the vet asylum, where you're fighting all three bosses at the same time, makes it a whole lot easier. And a lot of people recommend go get your gear from Hoth before you go and do vet asylum. So we've seen a little bit, as far as going to get specific gear for a certain encounter. We may see a little bit more of that. Not sure if that was intended, to work out that way or not. We'll have to kind of wait and see, because those are the last two trials that were introduced. As far as preferences on having that kind of structured progression versus what we have in ESO, personally, I'd like to see both. I love the fact that I don't need to go and farm like Assyrian Archive before I can go and do Hellraw. But at the same time, I do crave that, let's go here and get this gear and unlock the ability to then go into the next raid that comes out. I'd really like to see both. Yeah, it probably won't happen, but I like both methods, for different reasons. So I'm just kind of, I guess I'm in the middle with that, but
I would like it in PvE, right? I mean, it feels natural.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like when you go complete the trials in PvE. For a while, it did, like Moon Dancer and some of those things were best in slot, valuable Aether. So like that, forget which one of it, Ma. Like it was like when that came out, that was a clear sense of progression. You get your gear, you do Ma, now you're ready for the next bit of content. But then it never kept scaling, where it was like, because they're always trying to one-up the previous sets. So you have to buy the DLC and you have to keep progressing, right? But at some point, isn't there a ceiling? It's like... So, Elloa, what's your take on it?
Well, I think that Elder Scrolls Online work well the way they choose. I think for Elder Scrolls Online, it makes sense to have a horizontal progression rather than a vertical progression, because it's a game that's supposed to be about lore, about stories, about freedom, about doing whatever you want, etc. So this openness, where you can jump in one activity rather than another. It's important to remember that Elder Scrolls Online is not a classical MMORPG, but it's a hybrid between the Elder Scrolls solo game and a MMORPG. So the merge gave this thing, and I believe that it worked nicely for what it's supposed to be. It will be sucky if to do Thief's Guild, for example, the new DLC, you had first to finish Orsinium.
Yeah.
It's nicer to be able, I will do Thief's Guild with my Khajiit. My Khajiit, I just started level 30 Khajiit, but whatever. I jump in because I want to have this thief feeling, blah, blah, blah. I think the way the whole game is constructed is needed to have this horizontal progression. Now we could have, in addition, like Sigtric proposed, another system that will be separated, that will have more vertical sort of progression. Let's say you have, I don't know, maybe a big dungeon where you have, it could be just one big dungeon, but you have several floors, and to reach that floor, you need to clear up the first stairs or something like this. It could be the world of Oblivion, and you need to clear up every realm one by one, and something like this. There is possibility if they want to implement that in addition of the current system.
Okay. So I think we went over that. Now, where does it stand? So ESO, as far as their end game progression. Now, I'll go first. I think that the PvE content... Now, this is coming from someone who doesn't do a whole lot of trials anymore. I actually did one this weekend. Sig, you'd be proud of me.
Oh, yeah? What'd you do?
Vet AA, of all things, right? It was kind of fun, actually. I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. I'm like, I said in the middle, I'm like, is 10K DPS good? Is that good? Got some laughs. But I think the PvE content in this game, as far as like the variety, the complexity, the difficulty, you can do solo, 4-man, 12. I mean, it's staggeringly badass. I'll give them credit. There's 1 billion dungeons. There's Dragonstar Arena. There's VMA. There's hard-ass trials. And there's actually easy trials, too, to get your feet wet. So as far as ESO End Game, I feel like a tug and pull between their balance in between their content development. It's like, you know, oh, let's give PvE a little more attention, and people start bitching. Oh, let's give PvP. You know, it's like they're kind of constantly fighting each other into like what they're focused on. But I'm going to say the PvE in this game, if that's your thing, especially if you really want to be a really excellent player, there's always room to improve. There's awesome gear to get. It's really fun. Dragonstar Arena is still one of my favorite things in any game ever. I think the PvE, as it stands right now, is fantastic. I'm not talking about balancing and class-specific things, but in what you can do. There's just so much. I look at other games, it's like, it took them 5, 6, 7 years to get this amount of content. You know what I mean? The problem with it is incentives. And that's the number one thing I think this game lacks. And that's going over to the PvP side. Incentives. So for instance, other games have mounts, exclusive mounts you can only get through doing content. They have titles through doing content. Now ESO is starting to get a hold of that. They're starting to add more skins. You can see that. Starting to add more cool titles and things like that. But incentives that drive you to do things, and especially like incentives to quest. And other games, basically, if you had a reputation system, you did all these quests in this area, and the actual environment would change around that. You would get a different instance. You could earn tokens and so forth to buy like really expensive, really rare things. And it feels like, especially PvP, there's little incentive. I've gotten Emperor before. It was awesome. I like doing it here and there once in a while. But other than that, it's like, well, to get cool little clips of me 1v3ing people, that's fun. But what's the incentive? A Grand Overlord, someone who got Alliance rank 50, should have a flying mount that shits fire. I mean, they spent that much time on the damn game. you know what I'm saying, though? Like, they should have some outrageously cool PvP incentives. I mean, but I think they're learning. They're getting going. And I get it. You don't want to compete with the Crown Store. But here's all you have to do. Just make a reskin of it that's not exactly as cool, but a little different, and sell it in the Crown Store. Fine, I'm okay with that. As long as there's some exclusive thing for people to work towards. I love PvPing, but, you know, getting 1v20'd here and there, I'm like, I'd rather just go stub my toe. This isn't really fun right now. Like, there needs to be that incentive to keep me coming back. And I feel like the PvE side of it is excellent. Now you have those really ultra rare polymorphs. You have badass skins. You have difficult things. You have easy things. But what's the incentive to do it? Last point. Questing. People are like, I love questing in this game. And the quests are great. They have great story, you know, blah, blah, blah. But there's very little incentive. Like in Skyrim, if I do a quest and complete a quest line, either the environment changes, the guards act to me differently, or something changes, right? I can feel the impact of those quests. Where in Elder Scrolls, it's like, I get 200 gold. Sick. Right? What's the point of doing the quest? As an MMO, where my brain's always going, improve your character, improve your character, improve your skill, improve your character. Like, that's what my brain's doing. And if I don't feel that, I'm just moving on.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of have to jump on that and to remind people that at the beginning, that's exactly what ZeniMax has done for the quest, that they were phased and that people complain because the phasing system were separating players from other if you were not with your friend in the same phase of the quests, etc., etc. And so they changed their whole system. They rework most of the quests of the old or the vanilla world to ensure that they will not have this phasing system. There had been an article of Matt Fear explaining that firstly, they wanted to give to the player that feeling of really have an impact on the world. And you could see, like the town that were burning after your quest, it's not burning anymore. But because the technology is phasing people, so you do not see your friend if you're on the same area, they had to remove that. And so they rechanged everything to not have this anymore.
Okay, well, what do you think about ESO where it stands right now, Elloa? Like, in terms of what it has to offer in comparison to other games, what's your feel of it?
Okay, well, I think that Elder Scrolls Online, the way it works, it's work well. I tend to now accept the games for what they are rather than to wish they compile all my favorite aspect of every game. There's game I enjoy for certain activity and other game I enjoy for something different. In Elder Scrolls Online, I really like the lore aspect, the exploration aspect, and the fact that I do not need this kind of progression that you have in other game. I can just jump in, do what I want, and I'm enjoying myself. I take it more in a relaxed, casual, laid-back activity. While I will maybe put more effort into a game like Final Fantasy XIV, for instance, because you really have a very strong feeling of progression, and you need to do every step to unlock the next one. You cannot escape it. So I really have both experience. I enjoy both for different reasons. So for my part, I do not wish they change the way ESO is working. And I will say the people that are frustrating because there is not enough, progression in end game and stuff, play World of Warcraft, play something else to have your doses of progression and enjoy Elder Scrolls Online for what it is. I think for a social point of view and a guild point of view, it's also a lot easier to organize events when everyone can, just jump in and enjoy, rather than, hey guy, it's okay, you can join the trial, but you need to do this long list before you can participate. So it has always good side and bad side.
Yeah. So Sig, what are your thoughts about ESO? Because you're a long-time MMOer, so I mean, what are your thoughts about ESO and broad terms?
Discord is cutting out on me here. I'm long-time what now?
You're a long-time MMOer. What do you think about ESO's End Game as it is currently?
It's pretty good. I've been going pretty damn hard on trials here for the last 6-8 months, whatever it's been. So I definitely enjoy it. I think that we need some more real soon, so hopefully the patch that comes after the one that's dropping on Monday has a new trial in it. And I'm really hoping for some sort of a scalable thing where, and there's no indication that this is going to happen, but I would really like, something where you can take in between, 2 and 12 people in, and it changes depending on how many people you got in your group and whether you pick, like vet or normal or whatever. But, my guild that I run, and then the other guild that I run with on a weekly basis for trials, we're having a lot of fun in the game still. We've got a lot of content in both guilds that we're working on either perfecting or, getting through on the first, for the first time. So we've got a lot to do, but I think the end game community as a whole, or the trials community in the game, it's starting to get a little dry, and a lot of those folks need more stuff to do. So hopefully we'll see some. But I wouldn't really change the formula that they're using too much.
Do you think it's this trials is getting dry because there isn't a ladder to climb? It's just because you can do AA, you don't have to go progression wise?
I think that's probably why the trials community in the game, in general from the time that it launched, has been small, or at least has seemed small. I think that's part of it. People coming in from WoW or from Lotro or, some of these other games out here, I think they were used to a little bit more robust raiding content, either more people or longer encounters, stuff like that. So it's definitely a different atmosphere here, raiding in ESO, than it is in most other games. So I think that, it's part of it.
It's a good point you just bring up here. It's that the trial itself are very different from what you have in other games as raiding content. It's a lot shorter. It's go a lot faster. Like the 3 first trial, or at least Arthurian Archive and Helra Citadel, are completely different. Now they are a bit more classical, but those 2 first one, it goes so fast. The goal is to finish it in 15 minutes. For me, I first time I was kind of disappointed because it's very beautiful. It's gorgeous. You have really nice encounter and nice environment, and you're just finishing it immediately. I was used in World of Warcraft when you go in a reasonable difficulty. Of course, you have the easy difficulty, but when you go in the reasonable difficulty and you go in World of Warcraft, you can wipe on the same boss for weeks before you manage to pass it. And I find that exciting. You're working with your guild and it's hard, etc. And Elder Scrolls proposed something different. So I guess it worked like that for the game itself and the type of combat as well. It's very different from a game like World of Warcraft, which is tap target and more constructed.
Yeah.
But I kind of miss that in ESO. I will like to see it, and I think they are more doing it with this Asylum Sanctum trial, where you can really tune the difficulty and then you can really face that boss, which is very hard, and work on it with your guilds, your group.
Yeah, and we've seen more of that with the DLC trials. The stuff that came out with Craglorn is very short. For most guilds now is very easy. But you can take a guild full of veteran ESO raiders into like halls for the first time, and those the big deeps don't mean as much as far as burning through mechanics. You still have to pay attention to what's going on, and that's where that that progression comes from now. Is the groups learning, the raid team learning to work together and learning how to deal with the mechanics in front of them, because a lot of that stuff you can't DPS through, and we're seeing more and more of that with the DLC, with the DLC trials, and even the DLC dungeons. They're really mechanic heavy. So
yeah, I think they're learning the lesson. But to me personally, I liked the really quick trials, and the reason why is, they're quick once you've done them, but like learning it, like Vet Ma. It wasn't quick the first time you completed it, right? You spend 2 or 3 hours on like the twins, and you're killing your friends all the time, and you I don't know what's going on. But then you go through
so much time in that room.
Yeah, you just just crazy. But after a while, it becomes really fast. So what I like about it is that it doesn't take that long. I can go do it for a couple hours, like learning the trial, move on. Once we get the trial on farm, then it's 30 minutes, an hour, move on. The other ones were like, dude, you needed 4-hour blocks of time. I'm sorry, I got kids, dogs, I exercise. This isn't the only thing I got going on. I just can't sit down for 4 hours at a time and do that. I just couldn't do it reliably. So it's like, well, I guess I'm just not going to do this stuff. I'm not going to sit down for 4 hours and just die over and over. I'm sorry, that's not fun. Elloa, why are you laughing?
Well, because it shows how Elder Scrolls Online is different. When you imagine that World of Warcraft, especially in the early years, you had this kind of guilds that were fighting for the world first. If you wanted to enter into a guild, you had to present. It was like a curriculum vitae with your computer spec, how much time you can spend, and people that were taken were people that could save like 7 hours by night, 6 days by week, and that could push from 7 the evening to 2 a.m. the morning to go through the world first, because that's what this game was all about at that time. And that's why Elder Scrolls Online is so much more casual friendly. And by casual, I do not mean people that cannot play. I mean people that do not have so much time to play. It's not their second job. When you're a World of Warcraft raider in one of the top guilds, World of Warcraft is your second job. When you play ESO, you can be a super skilled player and just play 2 evenings by week and finish your trial and be happy with that.
Okay. You talk about second job. There was this really cool article, the PC Gamer, this like grandma wrote that she played Ultima Online for 20 years. And talk about End Game. She was a guild leader for 20 years and kind of wrote her experience. She was a doctor, and nothing about her screamed gamer. But like she did it because she could hang out with her son and found out this community and all sorts of stuff. So segue, comparing it to other games, I'll go real quick. My main two MMOs before this were Warhammer Online, which I played like undergraduate, and then Star Wars: The Republic. Star Wars: The Old Republic to me could have been just the biggest game of all time. It really could have been, but you know, it is what it is. It had that vertical progression system. It was basically WoW with a Star Wars skin, and then it kind of went down a bad path. But I just loved the PvP. It was really simple. It wasn't open world. It was instance based. They had ranked, they had non-ranked, they had super hardcore ass, really good players. They had casual players, and there was a space for everyone to have fun and enjoy it. And
Hutball.
Hutball was awesome. Competitive Hutball.
Yes,
was
I agree.
amazing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Competitive Hutball, like when it was 8v8 ranked, like you knew exactly the strats. And that's the thing missing about this game. In Battlegrounds, I always bitch about them because I want them to be good. What I like, I should say. And maybe it's because the 3-faction thing makes it a little more complicated, but the simplest games, if you look at it, the simplest games are the ones with simple rules, but big metas come out of that. Like, for instance, there's a thing called Ancient Hypergate, right? Very simple. 2 capture points, a timer goes down, everyone has to go to the middle, you go back to the 2 capture points. So you don't have a side that you pick, right? But for whatever reason, Republic always went left. Imperial always went right. It was like an unspoken rule, right? Like who said to do that? Nobody. But that's the thing is like these metas, like this is what you have to do. This is how you optimally play it. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows a stealther is going to try to make a play on it with 30 seconds left. Everyone knows that dickhead tank's going to be, you know what I'm saying? So I loved it because it was simple. It was fast paced. If I got shit on, that's fine. I'll queue it up 10 minutes later and we're back at it. It started to suck when the player base was so small you fought the exact same players over and over. That's when it started sucking. And that's kind of not where ESO feels for me. I wish it was, if you had the PS4, Xbox, and PC all connected like Final Fantasy, dude, this game would be a juggernaut. It would be a juggernaut. But like, you know, at noon on PC, it's the same 100 people that are playing. But Star Wars, that's when it went downhill for me. But Star Wars: Old Republic PvP, hands down, instance-based, amazing. Not talking about the combat, the balancing, the 4-buy from win crap, blah, blah, blah. Now, Warhammer Online PvP was open world. And what it really gave you was a sense of guild. Like, that's another thing that I hearken about this game is, like, when you got a guild keep, dude, you better take off work to defend that son of a bitch. There was incentives. Like, it was your guild. It was just, like, so much harder to get one, so much harder to lose it. But, like, it just represented so much. Like, it was like, you know, rooting for a football team. Like, I like the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't play on the team. But for whatever reason, I use the term we. Right? We won the game. I didn't play for the team. But it, like you felt like somehow that represented you and your guild. Mm-hmm. And God damn it, you might not be the best players. You might be a bunch of Zerglings. You're going to defend that thing till the end of time. And, you know, getting a phone call from my friend like, dude, we're about to lose this keep. We need you here. I gotta go, bro. You know, guild, community. That's what matters, right? I'll go play solitaire if I want to go play a single player game. It's always there. Like, just being, like, that camaraderie. That's what I miss from the military, and that's what games gave me. Whether it was Star Wars: Old Republic, whether it was Warhammer Online. It wasn't about being the best or anything, but it was about finding a group of people that had incentive, reward, and camaraderie to do something together. And god damn it, when it's on, it's on. And those are the 2 games that I really, really loved the PvP in. A lot of problems with them, but when it was on, it was on. I love that. So, all right. Rambling over. Sig? Sig?
I'm thinking. I've been all over. I've played nearly every major Western MMO release that we've seen since EverQuest. I you know, the bulk of my time was in Dark Age Camelot and Lotro, and now ESO. And ultimately, when it comes to End Game, I've played End Game in all of them. You know, and that's both PvE and PvP. Ultimately, this so far has been my favorite. I think, you know, mostly because of the time involved. You don't have to spend as much time to get ready for it. you know, gearing up and stuff like that. It's easier to jump in and out of. But yeah, I do miss the, you know, that kind of old school long progression raid locks, you know, getting gear from one to go to the next thing kind of thing, you know. So, but yeah, I think that's where I'm at. You know, it's just ESO is it and will be it for me for a while probably.
Well, what was like your favorite MMO before this? Was it Lotro?
I would actually say it was Camelot.
Camelot, Dark Age
Camelot.
Okay.
Yeah. I played Lotro a lot longer just because I got really fucking unhealthy with Camelot and forced myself to step away from it. You know, like it was affecting my job.
Yeah, good for you, dude.
That kind of thing. So I did play Lord of the Rings Online a lot longer, and a whole hell of a lot more casually, you know. But that's also where I did the bulk of my my end game, you know, raiding type stuff. It was all PvP for me, really, in Camelot. But those two games, I mean, they'll always be out of everything that I've ever played. You know, they'll always be my top two if we don't count what I'm doing currently.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Dark Age. A lot of fans from that came to Elder Scrolls. Elloa, let's get it.
Well, I have been playing, like Sigtric, almost every MMORPG that has been released, but I have reached endgame only in World of Warcraft. It's really from there that I got my experience, and I know that I appear very much like a casual, relaxed, laid-back kind of player. That's how I take my way, especially in the Elder Scrolls Online. In World of Warcraft, I've been semi-hardcore for raiding. I really enjoy so I was in a PvP guild, and I organized the raiding part of the guild because I didn't really like PvP so much. Or yeah, I kind of liked, but well, it was not my main goal in life. But PvE, I really wanted it. And as I was the one organizing the recruitment, the team composition, etc., I was even red leading sometimes. And I was really studying all boss fights, what everyone has to do as a job in the boss fight. I knew my elitist jerk sites, you know, my rotation with my spell, which best in slot I had. You know, I did all of that. Seems weird, right? But I did that. And I enjoyed it. And I think my best memory in my whole career as a gamer is when we defeated a boss, very difficult boss in hard mode in Wrath of the Lich King. And we had worked so hard to make this, and we were kind of well rated on the server as a guild. And I was really proud because it took us quite some years to achieve that point, but it was all because of the organization. I had to organize the whole red and find the right people and stuff. So I was really, really happy. And I've always been seeking the same kind of experience as a game I've played and never managed to reach it.
So, okay. Well, so World of Warcraft was your thing besides Final Fantasy right now. Okay. All right. What do we think of ESO End Game right now? I'll go first. Kind of already given our topics, but as far as like comparing it to other games, I mean, it just has an extremely large amount of content. Extremely large. There's one thing you can't bitch about. It's the amount of content. It's almost too much. Like, PvPers don't know whether to do Imperial City, whether to go Cyrodiil, go to Battlegrounds, and my main problem with the game, let's get that out of the way, is that the incentives, and that a lot of the cool things a part of the game aren't a part of the base game. So like Battlegrounds, Imperial City, like those are really cool things, not including all the other stuff. Orsinium, VMA, like I just wish that all these cool systems could be experienced by everyone. And because the population makes the game. It's an MMO. Mm-hmm. If there isn't a lot of people doing the activities, it's not fun. Once, like, I came back to Elder Scrolls Online, it seemed like there was actually more people playing it than when I left, which is fun, because going to Cyrodiil and fighting the exact same people at the exact same times over and over and over I mean, yeah, you improve your skill and stuff like that, but that it just does. You know, you go to World of Warcraft, you queue up for a ranked Warzone or whatever they're called. You don't fight the same person twice. Fortnite, you don't fight the same person twice. You know, or it's very, very rare. You know, you're very, very high in the bell curve. But the coolest thing you can do in this game, in my opinion, is get Emperor. Whether you like the system of how you get it or not, it is one of the coolest, if not the coolest MMO experience you will have, period. You feel like a walking god. And like all the lore behind it and stuff like that. I mean, I don't care if you hold it for an hour or for 2 days. When you get Emperor and you rip it and you are that guy everyone hates and they're trying to take down and teabag and kill and you're just ripping down folk, dude, there's no greater experience in MMO than I've had. None, period. When everyone from another server comes to take you out, they come to take all your keeps, and you're like, God damn it, this is the last keep we got. And they're both stacked on the flag, and you're ripping off your puncturing sweeps. Vicious deaths going on. You're taking 1v12s out. It's just nothing like that. And that's what Elder Scrolls provides, and it's the community. Like, I don't like everything about the game and all that stuff, but damn it, there's some really cool people in the game. Yeah, there's some douchebags and stuff, but that's the case with everything. And I feel like the game now is like, you have the people that like it, they're going to stay. They're going to play a different game here and there, but they're going to stay. And for me, it's like, when I get on, I look for the people that are in the game, you know, and if I don't have a lot of friends, maybe I can help someone improve their tank build or give them some knowledge. And it's not about being the best at it anymore. It's just about, it's really fun once you have the camaraderie going with a small group or a large group, like Sig has a trial thing going. It's that camaraderie, and this gives you a space to do it, no matter what you like, because there's our peers, there's fashion people, there's PvPers, there's PvEers, there's questers. If you like an MMO, there's a million different ways you can play this thing with other people and enjoy it, and that's, I think it's one of the best end games, period. This is my point. But I'm telling you, you haven't got Emperor yet?
That's the one thing that I will probably never see.
Me neither.
I would have to take vacation off, and I would have to, like, the first day of vacation would have to be the day before a campaign reset.
I would have to give my account to Deltia. That's what I would have to.
That's how you do it.
I just can't.
There's ways to cheese. There's ways to cheese it. Believe me.
There are, but I don't want to do that. You know, it's like if I get it, I want it to be real.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, like, I don't know, man. It's just going for it. Some people feel like Emperor, like I feel like Trials. Like I would need other people to help me do the Trials thing and time and blah blah blah. Where it's like Emperor for them is, you know, the same thing. And let's not get it twisted. It's not based on skill. There's tons of politics involved. People have to flip the keeps.
A whole lot of politics. Yep.
So you have to kiss people's ass and call friends in, and then people that hate you come into other servers, and it's drama, it's politics. But dude, when you plant that flag down and it says, @Deltia has been crowned Emperor, you can't take it away from me, baby. You can't take it away from me. All right, sorry. Go ahead, Sig. Go. What do you think about ESO right now? I mean, you're the end game, and how you feel about it.
Yeah, you know, I'm in a good place with it. You know, I didn't start doing PvE end game again until, you know, like 6-8 months ago, something like that. For me, for the longest time, back when the game was new, you know, my end game was actually hitting level 50 in Blackwater Blade and then deleting that character and starting over because I loved lobby PvP so much at the time. You know, but now it's I'm going crazy with Trials. I'm running, you know, 2, 3, 4, you know, nights a week, depending on who's doing what, who needs help and stuff like that. And I'm really enjoying, like, when I put my guild together, the entire idea was it's extremely hard to get into a Trials guild in ESO. You got to know somebody. You have to have a certain parse. You have to know what you're doing. If you don't hit one of those points, it makes it very tough to get in. And I was like, you know what? Let's get a bunch of noobs together. Let's go learn this stuff together, figure it out, and progress. And I didn't expect that it was going to take off the way that it did. I've got my damn hands full, but I'm enjoying every moment of it. You know, I've got somebody that stepped up and is running trial night for me for my guild. where I'll step in and help if needed. But it's it's people in this guild that are able now to run trials who probably never would have seen them if it weren't for a guild like mine. And it's really awesome to see. So it's that the community part. The trials, yeah, they're great, they're fun, but it's that community part and helping people see something in the game that they maybe wouldn't have seen before is what's making it really, really enjoyable for me right now. But that all said, tomorrow, ESO turns into Fashion Scrolls Online. We may change our focus.
Hell yeah, baby!
Yeah, I'm following Sigtric on this. Nikki and myself organize a trial night for viewers every Wednesday. And we will continue to do that if we have the people that sign up for the event, of course. Because it's exactly what Sigtric described, and that's what I want to do. For a long time, I've not seen a single trial because because I didn't really had the occasion, and I don't want to be carried. I could go join a group that know what they're doing, etc. But I'm not really interested into that. I prefer to discover it myself with people that are discovering it at the same time. So it's kind of the same mindset than Sigtric, and I enjoy that. And I really enjoyed our exploration of whole of fabrication. We still have not killed the last boss, but almost. We will do it one day. And I kind of I take it more easy because only playing Elder Scrolls Online, so I'm not playing 3 times by week trial events, but once a week we do it, and so we'll continue that for a while.
All right, so let's go. Last thing here, if we could add one thing to Elder Scrolls Online End Game, what would it be? All right. So, Lo, do you know what that would be?
Me?
Yeah, what would you add?
Yes, I think I would like to have a sort of dungeon that work either like the Fractal in Guild Wars 2 or like the Palace of the Dead in Final Fantasy, which is something that has an infinite progression. So you can go and it's harder and harder and harder. And it can be a randomization of different dungeon or whatever, maybe something smaller than a dungeon with just one boss or something like this, but something that were a little bit like maybe an arena, but with more like a parkour system than just an arena, and you do not have an end to it, so you can always go further. And so you will have a great incentive for hardcore player because they could, I don't know, reach the level 200, whatever, and brag about it. And of course, you will have nicer reward at the end of further you go, more difficult it is, and better the reward are. Maybe just cosmetic stuff, maybe just housing system. Doesn't care, and it will also allow every player to challenge themselves a bit and to be always able to go further. I think the technology in games now allow to do that kind of stuff, and I think that will be a great addition to ESO.
That's a cool one. Sig, do you know what you'd add?
Yeah, it touches on something I mentioned a little bit earlier, something I think I've talked about before, and the arenas that Elloa was just talking about right now. It's time the game has another arena in it. But I don't want a single-player arena. I don't want a 4-player arena. I want one that I can go in solo, or I want one that I can take in 12 people.
Oh, so like a scalable one based on your...
Yep.
Well, they have to be working on that, right? You would think so.
You would think. I think the tech is there. And I just think that would be an amazing experience. Because, I mean, if you look at DSA and if you look at Maelstrom Arena, you've got people that want to do DSA, but they maybe don't have 3 other people. They've got 2 other people. And you've got people who do VMA, but they want to bring friends in with them and stuff like that. There's got to be some way to make an arena that, hey, I can either go in by myself, or I can take 1 person with me, or I can take 3, or I can take 11, or maybe anything in between. And You tack on a little bit extra health. Let's say at 4 people, at 8 people, and at 12 people, it adds, once you hit those different numbers, it adds an extra mechanic, that you have to deal with, with boss fights and stuff like that. But I think that would be a really neat addition to the game. And, and people want that stuff. They want to be able to go in and do arenas, but not be strictly confined to the amount of people they can bring with them.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Yeah, the arena system they have, VMA is great, Dragonstar Arena is great, but and some people just can't do VMA well. They're just not good at that, but they still can heal a functional and tank and stuff. So that'd be cool if the technology was there for it. Hello, I ain't saying no lames. I'm gonna say something weird now. The obvious thing
when do you not say something weird?
When I'm in bed sleeping. Well, it gets really weird. Never mind. No, I mean, obviously, I want Battlegrounds Imperial City be part of base game. All right, I can't control that. It's probably not going to happen. What I think would be cool, like rated arenas, blah, 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 that's all great. But what about a reputation system? We have all these really badass zones in the game, really amazing quests, and I've done them all, so don't say I'm not a quester. But, like, a reason to do them over and over with, like, a reputation system that has really cool rewards. And, like, there's a limitless amount of dailies you can do. So there's a Bankerai reputation vendor. And in this vendor, you have to do, 100 quests, get 100 tokens, and then you can get a specific mount that's tied to Bankerai. Yeah. Or a specific extra quest, or a specific title, the Bankerai Bandicoot, or something stupid. But, like, an incentive to actually just, all right, I ain't got friends on the PvP with, I'm just going to go chill, turn some Netflix on. I'm just going to grind out 10 of these quests. And because the world in Elder Scrolls is unlike any other MMO. It's just so vibrant and dense. It's not Skyrim, it's not Fallout, because it's not a single-player game, but there's lore books everywhere, there's cool NPCs, there's cool vantage points. Hell, look at some of these guys on Twitter. They post all these crazy pictures all day. There's so many cool things to do, and it would bring together some incentives and get the hell out and enjoy the world instead of just logging in instance-based housing or whatever, get your pledges and you're done for the day. So a reputation system, personally, I'm baffled why that hasn't been implemented in the game, because it's a hamster wheel, a never-ending hamster wheel that, can keep people playing.
I think they could do that easily. They have already added the Fighters Guild and Mage Guild and Undaunted dailies that you can do once a day. They could do something to allow players to revisit the old content. So not doing that, but in a DLC, doing it old content. So you're kind of forced to travel. Maybe they could do, traveling guilds, which would ask you to do different tasks, or I don't know, something like that.
But I think that'd be cool. I mean, I'm just surprised that they have almost everything else in the game that a typical, monster MMO has, but that. So, any closing thoughts here, Elloa?
Well, I think that Elder Scrolls End Game, is what it is. It's not perfect for everyone. It's improving a lot. We have seen really a nice evolution. It's proposed different kind of activity for different kind of player. I think it's getting there, honestly.
Yeah. Sig? Final thoughts?
I don't really have much more, to say. I think, the game's in a good place with, with content. There's always room for improvements for the end game. But
yeah,
we'll definitely be seeing more. It's we're going to have a dungeon DLC drop tomorrow, but after that we're going to have a chapter and at least one other, is it 2 other, zone DLCs, and I would imagine at least one of those is going to come with end game stuff, on both PvE and PvP sides. So
yeah,
there's
always something to look forward to, and I think we're in an awesome spot right now. So
yeah, I mean, I'll close and say that it's the people that make the game. The developers have great content. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but this is a robust-ass game. It really is. And, there's something for everyone. And if you don't like it, put it down, come back, and there'll be something new like I did. But it's the people that makes the game for me, and I think a lot of people are just sticking with the game, and I don't foresee it. Hell, if Ultima Online lasted 15 years, this game's going to last a minute, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Speaking of which, I want to say a big hello to everyone in the chat room. Hi, guys.
Hello. Thanks for joining. But let's see, Elloa, what are we on for next week? We're going to talk. We're actually going to do a little review. We're not going to vote this week. We're going to do a review.
You are forced to listen to us speaking about Dragonbones, and not Dragonbones what it is, but what we have experienced about it.
So yeah, dressing up because I'm buying motives tomorrow. We're gonna look fly. I'm gonna have that big ass 2H axe on my orc. Oh, you gonna be looking for me in PvP, boy. And then yeah, the dungeons obviously because we got to farm gear for a week. So there's that. All right, Elloa, Sig.
Timeout.
Bye, gang.
Take care, everyone. See you soon. Bye.
Later.